Welcome to another great episode of Sergeant to CEO presents Business and Bourbon, where the bourbon is optional. I'm your host, Will Marcus, the owner and sole proprietor of Sergeant to CEO presents Business and Bourbon. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Whitty. Now, before I show you guys who Dr. Whitty is, because I did my research and I didn't did some investigating on this young man, I'm gonna give you an intro. Yeah, man, Dr. Wood, you about to have a good time. But before I do his intro, I'm gonna let you guys, you know what you gotta do. I've been missing the last couple episodes, but go ahead and pour you up a nice little beverage, whether it's bourbon or, beverage of your choice, even if it's apple juice for some of us out here, don't indulge in drinking. Whatever you drink on, pour it up because we about to have a good conversation. I got my mason jar, and let me get into this introduction real quick. Dr. Whitty is originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and now resides in Virginia. Dr. Whitty is a U.S. Army veteran with extensive experience in leadership, industrial, and organizational psychology, and evidence-based coaching. Dr. Whitty supports individuals, teams, and organizations in overcoming obstacles, enhancing skills, and achieving their personal, professional, and organizational goals. By fusing psychological principles with practical coaching techniques, he empowers clients to unlock their inner potential and fulfill the transformative visions of Genesis 1:28 to be fruitful by growing from within and multiplying by building upon what they already have. Everybody, put your hands together and welcome none other, Dr. Whitty. Dr. Whit, what's up, man?
How you doing? It's great to
Man,
be
listen,
here.
It's great to have you here, Doc. I'm gonna just pour me up a little bourbon and coke right now. Are you into drinking and all? Do you have a cocktail of choice, or
I do like red wine though, so I do drink wine occasionally, usually with dinner. But
are you
for
a
people who
Merlot type guy? Or
I think Merlot, that one is good, and it's another one. I think it's I've had Barefoot, I think it's called. And then there are some other kinds that I try. I do like a good sangria, so I like sangria. But for most people who indulge, they laugh at me when I tell them what I drink. So
nah, it's all good, man. I have a wide like profile, so I definitely dibbling down inside the wines. I love going to like Cooper's Hawk and stuff like that, even though people judge me for going, but I definitely love my wine. So to get this interview started today, we're gonna kind of take our viewers through a journey of Dr. Will. We're gonna start with the origin, talk about some of your leadership and mindset shifts. Then we're gonna talk about some frameworks that you have, and then just take it from there and just kind of give them a journey of who you are, what you do, and how you're changing the world one day at a time. Give us your elevator pitch. How did a kid from Baltimore turn into Dr. Whitty, the leadership coach?
God's grace. That's my elevator pitch because it's really fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
God's grace. To be honest, I don't know. That's God's grace. I had no idea. Number one, that one day I even would be Dr. Whitty, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I always dreamed of going to college one day, but I never really knew that I would go. In fact, after I graduated and I ended up in a community college in Catonsville, Maryland, I did not do so well, more so because, I was immature. And some things I just didn't know, so I didn't do well. So it wasn't until many, many, many years later in the military where I actually started my college journey.
I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad you actually hit on like the early like immaturity and learning. Like, how does your early experiences surface in the boardroom with the coaching sessions now? Like, what are some of the things that were bad then that's groomed you into being like the leader you are now, and you get to give them to your clients?
I think for me, when I think about where I am now and I think about being back in school, I remember being in elementary school. I remember being in middle school. I remember being in high school. And there were always things that were going on in school that I did not know about. And I did not know what questions to ask. And I didn't have people, and when I say people, I mean adults. I don't remember having very many adults who I guess took a look at me and tried to discover what strengths I had or what interests I had. Nobody asked me. So I realized much into the years up into the military, as I began to experience life, I would begin to say, that's what that was. Oh, that's what that was. Had I known that, I would have been interested in that back in elementary school or back in middle school. And so I realized that I missed a lot of those opportunities of mentorship, development, shaping, if you will, because I did not have anybody who took a look at me and said, hey, what do you think about this? Now, don't get me wrong, I had people in particular, I can remember a few female teachers who would always, encourage me as far as my work, or if I didn't know something, they would encourage me that I could learn it, whatever. But I mean, things, say for instance, I used to hear a lot of announcements during the day, and I would hear things about a mock trial. Well, I never knew what that was until I was in the Army and I saw the great debaters.
Mm.
So that's just an example of how if I had really known what these things were, I would have been interested, and then I may have mapped a different path for myself. So that's just an example. But I think you asked, how does it relate to me now, as in being in different rooms now? I remember that. And those are the stories that I tell people to encourage them, especially when they feel that they can't do something or they can't reach a goal. I go back and I reach into my hat of stories. And then when I tell those stories, that's when the light bulb goes on. And some people say, oh, you know what, I can relate to that. So I can do this. So I use those stories to help people understand that if I can do it, you can do it as well.
I like how you said that, man. It's great. And what I kind of like about that with you too is like, I think I've started to grow into that with, it's almost like a parable that you get to tell. It's like, okay, this is how I messed up. Now, this is how you can avoid my mistakes, And it's like a very honorable thing that you get to be like, okay, let me be vulnerable with you. Let me be open with you. Let's talk about the stuff that's really happening. Like
Yes.
this is where you're going wrong. I'm not saying you're horrible or anything like that, but this is the issue. I've faced this issue. I've come through it, and now let me help you so you don't have to go through the turmoil.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great, man. I was just talking to my friend a few days ago, and I was telling him like, man, parables like inside the Bible pretty much show us like the way to live, and like it's a learning system that allows us to learn from. We can learn from. So you being that vulnerable person, you're giving your parable to your issues. So that's just dope. Definitely dope. So like I was doing some research, and your vision is to like bridge classrooms, boardrooms, and communities, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what does that actually look like? Like on an ordinary Tuesday and thing? Like what does bridging those classrooms, boardrooms, and communities look like?
So basically, what I believe is obviously everything that we do, mostly everything that we do and we become who we become. It starts out with us, it starts out at home. Um, and so I believe that if the person, and I'll just say for me and for use myself for an example, if I'm built up inside, then when I go out into the community, I bring myself into the community, and I also bring that self into the boardroom. So basically, I'm the same everywhere I go. And so it starts out with the human being, him or herself, and we work on the human being. And then when we go to different places, when we're in different spaces, then we practice being the same all the time. And in a term, putting it in a term, most people refer to that as being authentic,
Mm.
because you're not one way here, one way there, but everywhere I go, I'm the same. I take the same pieces with me. Of course, I might have to adjust a little bit in terms of, who I'm dealing with, but everybody gets that same person. If I operate in humility at home, I operate in humility when I'm out in the community. I operate in humility when I'm in the boardroom or in a classroom. So I operate the same way wherever I am.
Yeah, that authenticity is like definitely a big word that people use now. And it's like, even though it's like this new thing that people use, I believe like that's a common trait. Like it's a common thing. Like it's not something that's new. Like as long as you adopt that and you believe in being your true authentic self, it's something that you just constantly live in. So I commend you for like having that, because there's a lot of business people that don't have that authenticity. Like for this person, they might have to show up as like, I'm this person that knows everything about the market, this, and this, and like high and mighty and everything, and miss that like being humble or having that humility that they might give people that they love that's like in the community doing service with them or something like that. So I definitely commend you for having that across the board. But, you know, earlier you talked about being in the Army. And first of all, I want to commend you for your service. Thank you for paving the way. Listen, man, Army brothers, man. You feel me?
Thank you,
But
thank you.
how did your time in service kind of like shape that perspective that you have now? Because we're going to go into some leadership and mindset stuff, but I just want to get that idea and perspective from you, because we have a time where, I mean, the politics are saying, or the media is saying that the Army's enrollment and stuff is low. But like, how would you encourage somebody to ultimately possibly take this route? Because like, you taking that route has given you these key things to help you become an entrepreneur.
So yeah, I will tell you that I've had an opportunity to talk with several different young people about it. I'll use an example of, we're all trying to make money, right? So I decided to become a Lyft driver sometimes in my spare time. So I would have young men that would get into my Lyft ride, and they would, they would observe me. So they would ask questions like, "Are you from around here?" Or "What do you do for a living?" Or "How old are you?" So they would ask me different questions, and I would bring up the fact that I was in the military, and I would always hear them say, "Well, I thought about doing that." So then my question would be, "Well, why hasn't it moved from a thought to an action?" And so, many of them have different reasons. Some are valid, but, I believe some are just excuses, maybe fear, maybe comfortability in being where they are. So, but what I do is I tell them the pros and the cons. I don't try to, tell them everything is peaches and cream or anything like that. But I basically tell them these are some pros and cons. You can gain discipline, you can develop yourself, you can meet new people, you can go travel the world, you learn many, many different things, you can challenge yourself in various different areas of your life. You see who you can become and what you're made of by encountering the different challenges that you'll face. I said I'll tell them you also get paid. I tell them about sick leave. I tell them about annual leave. I tell them that you'll have to go out into the field. I give them every different aspect that I can think of, and I'll tell them some of my experiences, and I'll tell them some of the pros and cons and things that I had to encounter. And then I challenge them to make a decision based off of what they believe is the best decision for them. So that's what I do. I don't know how other people do it, but I try to make sure that I give them the pros and cons and let them know, hey, you have to want to do it. Otherwise, your life will be miserable.
Hmm.
Or you have to want to do it. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that definitely answered the question, and it segued to the next question perfectly,
Okay.
because I think like we all have a time in the military where, we're faced with that military discipline, right? So, what's a discipline inside the military that challenged you and later became a mindset advantage, like a mindset advantage in entrepreneurship?
I was challenged. I'm going to use two. I was challenged in regards to time management. That was a big one. I would say that was probably the biggest thing is time management, because in the military everything is 10, 9, 8. And I mean, I never knew that I could tie my shoes in 10 seconds and untie them so fast in my life. I mean, I got off that bus and encountered that shakedown, and I thought my life was over. So I never knew what I could achieve in 10 seconds. I spent 13 weeks in one station unit training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And when
Or
I tell
lost in the
you,
woods.
yeah, when I tell you, I thought to myself, why did I join? That was my thought when I got off of that cattle truck. and all those drill sergeants started yelling, and and I had like all these bags that you couldn't drop. So I learned a lot with time management, and I learned more about organization because I think I was fairly organized, but I did learn more about structure, organization in the military as well. And so I'm thankful for that.
Okay. Oh,
And
and
I
what was the
want to
second one?
say
Oh, go ahead. I'm
time
sorry.
management, time management. And I want to say that, being in that type of atmosphere, it also teaches you how to relate and connect to different people because the average human being, well, today it can be a little different, but I know back when I was younger, I didn't run into so many different people from so many different places. And so in the military, it taught you how to be accepting of other races, other nationalities, other cultures. You had to learn how to work together and become one team and one unit and one family. And so if you're somebody who comes into an atmosphere like that and you are, I may as well just say it, if you're racist or you prejudice or you are, what do you call it, an introvert, you could be challenged because in that type of atmosphere, you don't get to choose who you deal with because you have to deal with everybody and you have to be respectful.
Mm. Yeah, that's definitely a good way to take it in. I think like the military is a very open cultural space. Even though you may still have your bad people here, ones and twos here, it is very open and it definitely give you a diverse perspective in that aspect. So
And I also, sorry about that. I
no,
also,
you
when I
good.
talk about when you asked me of how would I talk to people or encourage people about the military, and I did talk to people about some of the challenges with racism and stuff like that because I didn't want to skate over that because now I don't know how much is prevalent these days, but I encountered some of it in my 23 years, and so I let people know it's there, and it shows its hand, you have to deal with it very strategically because normally when it happens, it's not just that one person. There's other people in that same line of progression. So you gotta know how to deal with it strategically so that you are not the one that's ultimately damaged by whatever takes place.
Definitely, that is a good perspective. I was going to joke with you, man, and say like it wasn't staying on Sergeant Major's grass, like, but no, yeah, it's the military is definitely like different, but it's not perfect. It's an organization like any other organization. It's not perfect, but it is an organization that can potentially set you up for the future if you use that
Yes.
resource correctly. So I definitely use those same tools and tactics that you use to pass on to other people. Some people in my family still look at me like I'm crazy. Like, why did you do that? Like, this country don't care about you. I said, nah, what do you mean when you say this country don't care about me? Like, let's talk about that. Let's get into it because
Yeah.
it's like when you become a service member, you're protecting the country despite the views that they have. Like, it's not just the fact that I'm protecting like this country. I'm also protecting my family. And my last name
Exactly.
is the name that's up there. So I'm protecting my last name's sake. How you think about it. So it's all in perspective and how you look at it when you join. But let me
And I'm with you. I hear people say things like that or like back in the day, especially, well, this is the white man's army or whatever. But my thought to that is, when you join for yourself, you join for your family. When you go in with an objective, and whatever that objective is, you don't come out until you meet that objective. You don't let anybody else dictate what that objective is. Sure, if you go in with one objective and then along the way you decide to change it, that's great if that's what you want to do, but you do it, and like you said, if you know how to use the resources the right way, it is a benefit, and that's what you're there to do. Yes, you're there to honor your family, you're there to protect the country. If you're called, on active duty, not active duty, if you're called to deploy and everything, because that's what you agreed to, but you also make sure that whatever it is that you want to accomplish, that you set yourself up, you put yourself in position so that when that window open or when that opportunity presents itself, you're ready to walk through the door.
drop some bars right now, Doc. You dropping some bars. So let me ask you this, because like You have your military leadership, of course, that you had, and now even in a civilian career, you're still using leadership as a tool or a method to pretty much connect with different people, community, and businesses. What military honored leadership trait is most underused in today's hybrid workforce or workspace?
Okay, I want you to ask me that question one more time.
I got you. So, what military honored leadership trait is most underused in today's hybrid workplaces?
Now, I'm going to say something, and it might seem kind of biased because that's what I did my research on. But what I'm
Hmm.
going to say is I think it's humility.
Okay, and what do you mean by that? Expand upon that.
And I'm going to actually say cultural humility.
Okay.
That might not be considered a leadership trait, but it can be considered a mindset, a way of being. And what I mean by that is, especially in today's world, like I said before, there are lots of people that you have to deal with. And we have a lot of people that are in leadership positions and leadership roles who believe that you can lead everybody one way, the same way, and it's my way or the highway. These are concepts that were out when I was younger and when my parents were younger. But today, these leadership approaches don't work. And what I mean by culture humility is you have to be able to look at your employees. It doesn't now you could have a whole bunch of people who you believe, let's just say a group of African Americans or a group of Caucasians or a group of Hispanics. You can believe just based upon how they look that they are all the same type of person. But you would be wrong if you had a deeper conversation with them and you connected with them. You would find out that even though these 8 people who you think are African American, only one of them actually identifies as African American. Another one might identify as Nigerian or African, or I can't even think all the different Nairobia, just different things like that. So when you treat everybody the same way based off of how they look or what you believe, you're not you're not a culturally humble leader. But when you're culturally humble, what that means is I don't understand everything there is to know about you or your or your culture, your identity, or your background. But I'm open enough to realize that about myself. And I'm also open enough to learn more about you so that I can better know how to connect with you, relate to you, and treat you as an employee in my organization. And so, what you have a lot now is you have a lot of people who don't care. And so, one of my favorite leadership quotes by John Maxwell is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's a principle I exercise throughout my military leadership. And the reason why is because I realize that when my soldiers know that I have their best interests at heart, I could get them to do anything that I needed them to do. If they had to work overtime, I didn't get complaints because they knew that I was going to take care of them. They knew that I had their best interests at heart.
Yeah,
But when
definitely.
people but when people feel like they're just a number or you don't really care about them, then they question whether or not they want to perform for you. And some people don't. And then some people leave organizations and go somewhere else where they believe they're more valuable. And so that's when I say culturally humble leadership, that's what I believe that we're missing in organizations today. Because today, people don't stay with organizations long, and a lot of them are there. The employees will leave because if you curse at them, if you offend them, it's no longer like when I grew up, I took a lot of offense. Somebody may have cursed at me, somebody may have taken me off the schedule, whatever the case might be. And I'm not saying it's right. It's just what I endured and I stayed for the long haul. Whereas today, people are different. It's like one little thing and they're out the door. And people are no longer staying for retirement and things like that. So you could have an employee today and that employee's gone in 2 weeks based on how you treated them.
Yeah, I think cultural humility is something that's like really big in today's climate because, like, of course, you got the old school people that used to joke with you because I'm pretty sure you were a little younger. People used to joke with you talking about some, oh, y'all soft now. Back in my day, yeah. But
Yep.
I think which is leading to the next question is really good too. Like cultural humility also plays into like how adaptable a leader is inside of their businesses. So for like businesses now, a lot of people like leaders, they claim they're adaptable. Being an entrepreneur and talking to somebody that's an entrepreneur, how would you tell them, or how would you kind of like measure their adaptability inside of an organization or their organization? Like, how do you manage and gauge that?
Well, the way I would do it is obviously you have to do a lot of observation, and you also have to do questioning, because you can ask people, like say for instance during the interview process, you can ask people how do they feel about certain things, or how would they react or respond to this certain uh, scenario, and based on their answer um, you can pretty much gather how they would respond or operate in the presence of races, or in the presence of certain people and what have you. Now, maybe it might not be spot on all the time, but generally based on those scenario type questions that you ask people and through observation, you can get a pretty good idea of how people will respond. And if somebody's responding in a way that you think is inappropriate or they can do better, then you simply just be the example for them, and you let them know that this is your expectation, and then you demonstrate it for them, and then you watch them and watch how they gravitate and how they begin to operate in that manner. If they don't, then what I would say is, if you have a vision and a mission, sometimes you have to know that if a person don't work, they don't work. It's nothing personal, but if you're trying to build a certain culture, a certain atmosphere, if a person is unwilling to adapt, or it's another word I want to say that's not coming to my mind, but if they don't want to adapt to that particular way of thinking or that culture, then you have to be willing to let them go. Nothing personal, but you're trying to establish a certain type of atmosphere and relationship with the people that you serve.
I think I like the way you put
Assimilate,
that out.
assimilate is the
Assimilate
word.
to, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. I get you, and I like how you put that out, like your framework, and it's you kind of setting my interview up real good, Doc. You're taking me down the tunnel because now,
Thank,
like, I
thank you.
can kind of go into your spiritual and ethical frameworks based off that question. You see, so I could tell you're a man of faith for sure, like faith and religion, and I think like
I try to be, and I just want to say leadership is not easy.
listen, as long as you're trying
It
every
is
day,
not
that's
easy.
that's all God asks us to do. Wake up every day and try, try. So how does like your faith or ethical compass guide daily decisions as a coach and CEO?
I think, first of all, the way my faith helps me deal and relate and connect is I always remember that people are people first. I always try to remember not to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. I remember that I'm a human being, that I'm not perfect. I believe when the Bible says that we're not perfect, that everyone has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, all those things. And so I try to make sure that whoever's in my presence, that I'm not judgmental, that I don't appear, as they would say, holier than thou. I had one person who used the term do-gooder, all kinds of things that you can think of. And so I'm just that way when I encounter my clients or people that I'm around on a daily basis that I talk to. I just try to be down to earth and relatable. And if somebody is talking to me about something, I just listen. I let them talk, and I think before I respond. I'm not a person who tries to I call it listening to respond. I listen to hear. I listen to hear, and then I wait to see what I believe is the best thing to say to them. Whereas if I'm just listening to respond, before they can even finish their story, I'm already plotting in my head of how I'm going to come back. And that's
Mm.
not what I want to do. I want to hear what they're trying to say. I want to hear what they're not saying. And I'm studying uh tone of voice, things
Nonverbals.
like that, because I'm trying to have the right opportunity to give them the best feedback that I can give them. And many times, that requires you being sensitive to the Holy Spirit, because sometimes what you want to tell a person may not be the thing that you need to tell them. And so that's why I'm not really so quick to respond. And I make sure that I'm not coming off in a judgmental manner, because the first way to get rid of a client or person that's already unsure about whether or not they want to talk to you is to come judgmental or accusatory, insensitive, things like that. That person's out the door.
That's a good way to look at it, and that's definitely true. Like you see that even outside of business, like when people are coming to help, coming to get help from you, just as in the mentorship aspect or things of that sort. Like if you don't actually hear their concerns and care about their concerns, they're definitely not gonna rock with you. They're gonna be like, "Yep, thanks for listening. I'm out of here." So yeah,
Exactly. I mean, so
yeah, that's good. So you have a framework within your business, and it's the grow from within and multiply what your customer already has. Can you like share how you do that, how you help your clients do that, and then like, or share a quick story, a quick success story or something like that. You don't have to use client names or anything like that, but how do you make that happen?
well, that's easy. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, because I've recently, when you use the term business, because I don't want people to think that I've been in business for all these years and it's just, I got this sparkly, thriving, 1,000 clients, things like that. My business is just over a year old,
Hmm.
and I actually have not had paying clients as of yet. So a lot of coaching that I have done have been coaching with other students and coaching with, people that are my friends and people who I just come across who may talk to me about something. And so I'm kind of giving them free coaching sessions, right?
Hey, listen,
So
Doc.
I
Before
am out. Go ahead.
No, before you even finish, I want to tell you like, don't diminish your light, man. You doing service right now still, and it's still a business. It's
Yeah.
still you. It's your brand. It's your business. You're giving people wisdom. You're teaching. You're leading. I wouldn't have brought you on here if it wasn't a business. You feel me? You
Yeah.
still can give
Thank you.
wisdom to other people, and you're still doing the work of the Lord and what He actually called you to do. So you
Yes.
got a business, whether it's community
Thank you.
work or you feel me, getting $1,000 paid plus clients. It's still
Yes.
business.
Thank you.
So yeah.
So I do have that business. I don't know if you saw my website,
Hmm.
but I do have a website where it offers different services. I also do itinerant speaking. I've had a few engagements where I have spoken. Again, those were, what do you call it? It's strange. I can't think of the name of it, but it'll come to me. But basically, when you do it and you don't necessarily receive, a monetary benefit from it, but those were great. Those were great opportunities as well. So let me get back to your original question, and hopefully I remember what you said.
I'll run it back for you real quick.
Go ahead, ask me the question again.
So you help your clients with your framework to grow from within and multiply what they already have. Can you explain what that is and give a quick success story?
Okay. So the word I was looking for was pro bono services. Yeah. But so here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what coaching is. And some people think coaching is just like counseling or therapy or mentorship or advisory. And it can be some of that, just a little bit. But here's the thing. Coaching is, and what I do is I help people who already have a goal and an objective, but they just cannot, they have hit a spot in the road and they don't have any idea how to proceed. So I'm the person who comes along and I ask them provocative, thought-provoking, powerful questions, and I hold them accountable to reach each goal that they set. For instance, I'll use myself for an example, right? When I was in college, I said to myself, I want to graduate by a certain date.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to also ask myself, what am I going to do to make sure that I graduate by that date?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I going to use as a support to help hold me accountable to that date? So, Marcus, if you told me, Dr. Wee, I really would like to lose, well, let's say I really would like to lose 50 pounds. Then I would say, well, Marcus, what can you do to reach that goal? And you might say, I can go to the gym. Then my next question would be, well, what gym are you going to go to?
Mm-hmm.
How far is the gym away from your home? Does it require a membership? Do you have the funds for the membership? How often a week are you going to go? Are you going to get a personal trainer or are you going to rely on your own knowledge? How much does a personal trainer cost? Is this something you can afford? Are you going to incorporate nutrition? I would ask a lot of questions that people normally don't think about so that they can see all the steps and things that they have to put in place to reach their goal. And then let's say you go into the gym now. I'm like, okay, how often are you going to go? You're going to go 3 times a week. Okay, 3 times a week. What days are you going to go? I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. My next question is, what time are you going to go? I'm going to go at 8 p.m. How long is your session going to be each day? I'm going to keep on until you draw that roadmap and that picture so that you can see how you can get to that goal. And then I'm going to hold you accountable, because the next session I'm going to say, how we're going with our goal, Marcus. And then you're going to tell me, well, I went to the gym on Monday, but I didn't go Tuesday. Well, what was it that prevented you from going on Tuesday? Well, I just didn't get up on time. And what does getting up on time look like for you? Because now I got to get you in the mindset, okay, wait a minute, I got to fix this time management thing because I have a goal, if you can see. So that's how the process works. And I'm not doing anything new. I'm not doing anything magical. What I'm doing is getting you to think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm challenging the client to do, is to think. This is the goal I want to reach, and this is how I'm going to reach it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, a lot, and people come with their doubts. And so then I have to, figure out what their strengths are. And I have to encourage them in their strengths. And I have to say, no, you can do this, because when you told me about this story, you were operating in good time management, or you were operating a certain way. And so when I can show them that they've already been doing it and they can do it over here as well, people connect the two together, and then the aha moment happens. And so it sounds like it should be second nature, but for some people it's not. So a coach comes in, and like I said, I ask those powerful questions to get their thinking going and getting them to head towards their goals.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And I think that coaches are needed. And I'm not going to just say like one coach is needed, because almost think of it as like a football team. And like, you got different coaches for offense coordinator, defense coordinator, you got the head coach, you got the special teams coach, you got a kicking coach. Like all these different coordinators and coaches serve a different purpose and can give you a different outlook on life. So I'm definitely really big on the coaching. Like when I'm ready to come and start refining my leadership tactics, best believe I'm coming to, hey, Dr. Whitty, I
Hey,
need a, I
give
need a
me a call.
consultation, brother. I need
Give me
I
a
need
call.
some I need some knowledge. And I think like coaching has sometimes been like undervalued, because like now in this world with social media, everybody believes they're a coach. Everybody believes like, I can do this. Like I'm an Instagram coach, or I'm a fitness coach, or
Exactly.
I'm a life coach, I'm a this. And in the world that we're in, it's like, yes, everybody can be a coach, I guess. Everybody has a perspective they can actually, give you on life and like how you should navigate it. But what are those coaches actually teaching you, engaging your mind to do? Because that mind switch and actually making people think is very key instead of like just telling them what to do. You got different
Exactly.
types of coaches. So that's really dope. And
Exactly.
that view that you have on it definitely gives us like a different perspective on coaching. So I think like if you had a chance right now to give the listeners one practical exercise they can use tomorrow to align their values with their actions, what would it be and why?
Sorry, I'm writing something that came to my mind down.
Listen, write it down. I didn't even took a few notes too. Listen, I was listening to you talking, and I was like, "Oh man, that was a
So
good one."
one more time. I know I did this to you twice already, but ask me
Listen,
that one more
doc,
time.
this your interview, man. We all good. So give the listeners one practical exercise they can use tomorrow to align their values with their actions.
So I think what I would do is I would tell someone to I would say, think of a goal that, you know, at any point in your life, a goal that you wanted to, maybe not desperately reach, but it was really important for you to reach it. And I would ask them to think back on the goal, and I challenge them to think about what they did, how they managed their time, who they talked to about, who they had a conversation with about the goal, challenges that they may have had to overcome in order to reach it, and also whether or not they actually achieve the goal in the amount of time or whatever that they may have wanted to achieve it in. I would challenge them to think about that. And then I would challenge them that to use those same principles that they use with their new goal as best as they could, to use that in reaching their new goal, to see if they can use those same principles to reach that new goal. That's what I would do with people now. And if it was something as far as being ethical, I would always challenge them to look at whether or not their decision is right or wrong, how it's going to affect them or how it's going to affect whoever may be connected to them,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. That's what I would challenge people to think about. And the reason why is because a lot of times we make decisions and we don't think about the impact of those decisions until it's too late. So that is what I would do if that answers your question.
No, that definitely answers it, and that's good. So kind of just like think of big picture almost. Take a step
Think a
back,
big picture. Yes.
like bird's eye view, look at everything that's going on, all the parts and people that it's affecting before you actually make
Yes.
a decision. So that
Yes.
that
And I say that from experience. So I'm not saying that as something that I'm the master of. I'm saying that because I, for one, know that sometimes you make decisions and you don't think about it. Whatever decision it might be, you hadn't thought of the repercussions or everything that comes behind that decision. And so when you weigh all of that, oh, okay, then this is how I should proceed. Or if you're not sure, you get the guidance. And so a part of a coach's responsibility is perspective transformation. We are not a person who is supposed to be like, say, for instance, my background is in industrial and organizational psychology, and that basically means that I study the behavior and attitudes of people at work. In an organizational setting, I talk to you about how to deal with your coworkers and your leaders and how leaders should deal with their employees. But I also can have individual coaching clients who have other goals as well, because I'm a board certified coach. So I can coach individuals, but I can also coach teams and groups at work as well. And so our job is not to be clinical psychologists, we're coaches.
Mhm.
And the difference is, and that's why people have to realize that coaching is not therapy. Clinical psychologists, therapists, they do things like therapize people. And basically that just means they go back into your history in order to figure out what happened to you. I'm not going to say what's wrong with you, because that's not what we want to ask people. We want to figure out what happened that causes you to think and behave the way that you do now. And so that's therapy and clinical psychology. What my job is to take you from where you are and move you forward. Now, I can go back into your history, but as a coach, I only go back into your history really fast, and then I snap my fingers and I go back forward.
Right.
So that's the difference between having a coach and a therapist.
No, that's definitely good. That's a good view to look at it. But I have two questions that kind of
Go
arose
ahead, go
from.
ahead. And before you ask those questions, I just want to say the difference in the clients are, in a coaching situation, we believe that the client is already a whole, healed, healthy person,
Mhm.
right? And we just need to help them see what they already possess and how to move forward from where they are to get to where they want to go. That they possess everything on the inside of them already. They just don't know it yet, and we have to help them see it in order for them to move forward. That's the difference.
Yeah, they just got to unlock them doors. They
Whereas,
already got the door in their
yeah,
house. It's already you already got the
yeah,
tool. You already got the door. It's already in your house. You just
right,
got to unlock it or actually use it the proper
right.
way so it can actually benefit or reap fruits from it. So that's really dope. The two questions I kind of had. So one of them is going to be because you talked about experience, right?
Mhm.
You have one sentence, right? You have one sentence of advice to send back
Okay.
to 2015 era Dr. Whitty. What would you say? It's the first question, all right? So I'm gonna let you answer that one, and then I'm gonna come back with the second one. So that's the first one.
Think I think I would say stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
Stay the course. Remember why you started. And I say that because I don't think there's anything, how we say, I wouldn't take nothing from my journey. I
Mm-hmm.
really feel like everything I've been through, I mean, yeah, there may be some things I would do differently, but my journey is what helped shape me. And I feel like it was all for a purpose, good or bad. So I would tell myself, stay the course. You're going to be all right. Just remember why you started. You can do it. Those are the things I would tell myself.
Stay the course. Stay the course is a very it's a strong statement. It's very
Mhm.
strong because I think I'm in that same way where like sometimes I think about like my past and I'm like, would I have really changed anything? But when you think about it, and this is crazy because me and my partner was kind of talking about the first and second book of it's Chronicles, right? And it kind of talk about like lineage and stuff like that. And we're like, people things have to happen in order, and people have to be in certain places for everything to play out correctly, and for your life to be what it is, and for you to be able to serve God's mission. But I say to say like. You can't really change anything, but that's a great word of advice. Still, you like stay the course, man. It's gonna work out. It may not seem like it at the moment, but it's going to work out. I promise you that. So I think
Here's
this.
why,
Go ahead.
if I can, real quick, here's why I say I would say stay the course. Because when I was in my 20s, I'm going to use two scenarios that I believe God used for me. I was one day, I'm not a great swimmer. So I was at a pool one day, and the pool, I can't remember how deep it was, but it was pretty deep. And I went to get in the pool because I knew that I could go across. I knew I could go underwater, things like that. So I went, got in the water, and the lifeguard at the time, she could tell that I wasn't a swimmer. So she told me that I should put on those little, I don't know what they call them. I call them flippers on your feet. So I put the things on my feet and I started to go across the water. Well, when I would go when I stuck my head down into the water, I could see that the water was deep. So instead of keeping my eyes open, I would go across And then I would shut my eyes and I would go across, but I would keep my eyes closed and I would go across. And so as I continued to do that, one time I said, okay, I'm going to open my eyes. So when I realized that I was in the deep part of the water, I opened my eyes and I looked down and I saw how deep it was. And I immediately got afraid and closed my eyes. And it was at that moment where I believe that I heard the Holy Spirit say, see, that's why I cannot show you where you're going, because you're going to get afraid and do what you just did. You turn back instead of going all the way across. And so I was completely blown away by that. And the second instance was, you know about land navigation, right? Land navigation, I could do everything with the map. I could tell you how to get there. I could do everything. I even taught other soldiers how to do it. But when it came to me actually walking the course, I would always do something that I would end up off, right? But the strangest thing was, whenever I did land navigation at night in the dark, when you could not see and you had to rely on the compass,
At night, Dad.
I could always find what I was looking for. But during the day, I always was distracted by things that I could see or thought I know what I'm doing, whatever, and less reliance on the compass. And I would be off. But the thing that really got me was one night we had traveled quite a distance and I could hear things around me, but I couldn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea the distance that we traveled. The next day, when the light came up and we were at our location, I stood up and I looked. And then as soon as I looked, you know, I could hear, the Holy Spirit, look at all the things that you traveled through to get here. And you had no idea that all those obstacles was in the way. All the animals, the buildings, everything. I had no idea that stuff was around me because I was totally focused on the compass and getting to where I had to go. And the Holy Spirit said, if you had seen all of this stuff, you would have been afraid to go to the destination because you would have saw these animals. You would have got afraid that they was going to attack you, all this kind of stuff. But we literally walked past animals and buildings, bodies of water, everything that I had no idea was there. And so that's why I said I would tell people, stay the course. Remember why you started, because lots of distractions will come. And even with, and I'll use this last example, there's a guy that I mentor who's in his doctorate program. And he told me, Dr. Whitty, I want you to be my mentor. I said, okay, here we go. Here's what I want you to do. Take down my phone number. And as soon as you want to quit, call me. That's what I told him. I said, every time you want to quit, you call me. And so I told him, now that you decided to go on this journey, any and everything will happen to you and around you because it's going to challenge you so that you can find out if the goal you want to reach, you really want to get there. I said, you might lose people, you might lose friends, you can't go out. It's a lot of things you can't do if you want to graduate. So true to my words, he has lost his brother, he has lost his sister, and he recently lost his father. And I don't say this to say I told you so or anything like that, but he understands what I told him several months ago. This stuff is going to come to challenge you to see if you really want to go and do what you say you want to do. And so I have to encourage him. Okay, it's okay to feel what you feel, and everything is valid, but you cannot quit. You can't give up. You cannot cave in or quit.
Yeah, that's dope. You got to move by faith and not by sight. That's definitely like a very strong thing that people, business, entrepreneur, education, whatever, you have to definitely hone into. It's a lot of key things that you said that I want to hit on. We'll be here all day if we talked about it. But like even in my journey, like I literally was talking to a friend that I went to undergrad with maybe like a day or two ago, and she was telling me that she's thinking about considering doing doctoral studies. And I'm only second year in mine. I'm only a second year PhD student. I hadn't even got the candidate behind it yet. And I asked,
Congratulations.
I appreciate that, Doc. I appreciate that. And I told her, I was like, "What's your why? Why are you doing this?" She typed it out. She sent it to me. I said, "Good. Now write that out and put it on your wall. And when you feel like it's gonna get tough, because it's gonna be some tough times. I done had tough times. And I'm not. I'm technically halfway through. I'm just getting ready to do comp exams and stuff. So I'm like, it's gonna be tough. Put that up there on the wall and look at it every time because it's gonna get tough. And you're gonna have times where you're like, why am I doing this? I'm gonna quit. I'm about to be done. Well, it's not even that hard. It's just a challenge that's stretching you. So now you can be. It's like a rubber band. It's stretching you so you can be more stronger. But that's dope. I appreciate that wisdom. I'm definitely gonna have some people that's even in their doctoral programs tune into this episode to check that out because that was a gem right there. But the second question, that I had to ask you was, you kind of talked about like the difference between like coaching and therapists and stuff like that, but I want to go into like actually talking about organizational psychology. Like, what's the biggest shift you see coming in organizational psychology over the next 3 years, and how are you preparing for it?
Well, I think one of the major shifts is just dealing with this new AI stuff, this new AI
Mm,
technology. And I say that because that's what's happening now. There's a lot of new technology that people are now being challenged to learn how to operate because, say for instance, in higher learning, these educators have to know how to use this AI technology, and they have to know how to be able to check and verify whether or not students are using this technology in a way that is considered not beneficial and illegal, or you know
the
just
ethical
using it in
usage.
ways ethical use. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in coaching. We're going to have to learn how to use AI technology through our assessments and things of that nature, through our different coaching sessions, or the times that we go out on the road and that we speak to people. We're going to have to learn how to adopt the use of AI technology. So I think that is probably um, going to be a major shift um, in the next 3 years, in terms of coaching or IO psychology.
Okay.
So
So the
that's what I.
incorporation of AI
And to
inside
your
of it.
question, yeah, and to your question, what am I doing to prepare myself for it? Probably not as much as I should be doing, because I have looked at some of the technology and I'm still deciding on what is something that should be used in that area and what should not. Like, which technology is most beneficial, because there's so much out there right now that I don't want to just, start putting my time into a technology that's not really going to translate, into my profession. So I'm going to be trying to go to different conferences that deal with IO psychologists and IO psychology and coaching. And I'm going to start looking for talks and webinars and conferences that deal with integrating the new technology into our profession. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and doing a little bit of already.
Okay, my bad. I
That's
apologize.
okay.
So, with that, what I would say is one of the things in AI that I would suggest, because I kind of do, my own due diligence research with AI too, with Sue. I think one of the greatest tools that I've seen so far is, and not to give them no free plug, but if y'all listen to this, go ahead, if you want to throw me a few dollars, I'm cool with that. But Google Notebook LM has been a very good AI that I've kind of been, studying and looking into. And it's really like, yeah, check it out, Doc. I'm going to tell you, like, it does a lot of things where it's like, and where I've seen that you can kind of capitalize or use Google Notebook LM is like, it's an AI where you can put like documents, like PDFs, things into it, and they kind of give you like summaries and stuff like that off of that document. And it's not like an open source AI. It doesn't go out into the web and search for, other documents. And sometimes, how they say AI can like hallucinate and things of that sort. It doesn't do that. It actually uses the resources or the sources that you put inside the program and only uses those documents, and it only analyzes those documents to pull information. So I'm not saying like, for example, how I see like you can possibly use it is like, say for instance, you may have an intake form that may have, I'm gonna just say 50 to 100 questions where you can't go through all of them thoroughly. Like you can take that form and put it inside of it, and you can have your prompts queued up to be like, what are the issues this client is facing? What are this, and this, and it'll give you like a breakdown into a summary. So that's definitely like an AI. I think that's like shaping the world. It's still kind of like in its beta slash testing mode and stuff like that, but it's very powerful. And I have
Okay,
seen a lot of scholars using it. So I definitely say check it out. Now
definitely.
we're going into our last section of this interview, Doc. I know we didn't have fun, and we can talk for a long time because like it's a lot of things that I've been thinking about, and we're gonna have to finish up offline. But I got to put you in the entrepreneur hot seat. It's rapid fire questions. You got 60 to 90 seconds to answer these questions. You just got shoot it off the dome. All right.
All right.
So let's do this. So, your coaching philosophy in 3 words. I'm gonna say 3 words because some of my guests they ain't been able to get it. So, what's your coaching philosophy in 3 words? Go.
In 3 words. Oh my gosh, I'm on the spot and I'm not God. Um, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Okay, that's 3. Keep it simple. That's okay. I got that. What's one mistake that became a superpower?
Oh my gosh. A mistake that has become a superpower. Wow. Oh my God. A mistake that has become a superpower. I don't even know if I can say any mistakes that I've made that can I come back to that one?
We'll come back to
All
it. All
right,
right.
all right,
All
all
right.
right.
Number 3. Dream dinner guest, dead or alive, and you
My
get to ask them one
dream,
single question.
my dream dinner guest, I'm gonna be honest. I love Whitney Houston.
Okay. And what are you gonna ask Whitney?
Can I just sing a song with you? Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would ask her. Can we just sing a duet together?
What you gonna sing? I want to dance with somebody or something. What you gonna sing
I
with
don't.
her?
I have no idea, but whatever it is, I would just sing it with her, just to say
I
I
sung with
met
Whitney
you.
Houston.
I sung with Whitney Houston, and that, yeah, that's yeah.
Okay. If you had to start from scratch tomorrow, what industry would you tackle and why?
If I had to start from scratch tomorrow, what industry would I tackle? That's a good question. Well, I'm going to say two, and I think it would be education and it might be clinical psychology.
Okay. And why?
Education, because I believe that's where it starts when you talk about building people. It starts from the time that they start being educated. And I believe we don't have enough people who are in education and who are there for the right reason and who are willing to be patient and actually educate and possess that power and that charisma to make people want to learn. And I say clinical psychology because it's something that I think I've done over the years without actually being licensed. And that means that I'm frequently always talking to people about what happened to them and trying to help them overcome patterns and thoughts and things like that so that they can move forward in life. And so I'm not licensed to do that now. So I can do it a little, but I cannot do it and get paid for it because that's not what I'm certified in. I didn't go to school for that. So that's why I said that would probably be something that I would do.
Okay. All right. We're gonna double back now. So one mistake that's become a superpower now.
A mistake, a mistake. Is that my dog or was it
No, that's my
yours?
dog over here. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. That's okay. I thought it was mine. A mistake that has become a superpower. Gosh. Um, I'm going to say this, and I don't even know if I think a mistake that is a superpower is when you do things and you have hurt someone or you have hurt people. A superpower, I would say, is learning that a different way. And so I've learned from a lot of mistakes and things that I've said or done. And so now moving forward, it helps me in dealing with people now, and I can teach other people how to treat other people. And so I think I think that's a mistake. That's a superpower because I've learned over time, different ways to connect and relate and to treat people. And so I try to get other people to see you can treat people a different way. And this is why, and this is how you do it. And this is how they will respond to the way that you're treating them.
So your mistakes and how you treat people have taught you ultimately how to treat people better in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I might think of something else, but that's what comes to mind right now.
No, it's authentic. That's why I think I love my entrepreneur hot seat because I never tell my guests what's the questions I'm asked.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of allows you to be authentic. It's really
Yeah,
you.
and
It's
that's
like
why I
things
was
is good for
nervous
you.
about this interview today. Because I
It's
said, wait
okay.
a minute,
Listen,
what am I doing? And I'm scheduled for an interview and it's business and bourbon. And I'm like, gosh, and I
listen,
didn't even know who you were. So I was like, okay,
listen.
this
It's
is
all
only,
good, Doc.
I just want to say this is only my second time. Yeah, this is only my second time actually being interviewed on a podcast. You are the second.
Listen, Doc, and
Well, wait a
it's gonna
minute.
go up from here.
Yeah, you are the second.
Yeah, it's gonna go up from here, Doc. I'm telling you. Listen, man, it's nothing but growth, man. Next time I talk to you in person, you're gonna be like, man, I done had 5,000 interviews, 5,000 podcasts I done been on. So
Yeah,
listen, it
I
works.
hope
So
so.
last question in the entrepreneur hot seat, just to get back to the game. What's one book, podcast, or resource every founder, entrepreneur, you know, coach, business person should consume? And what is the key takeaway?
The Dr. Whitty Today podcast. No, yeah, I just threw that out there. Of course, you could go to that one, but
Mm-hmm.
let me think of a podcast. I'll tell you what, when you ask about books, and since I'm talking about leadership, I would encourage any entrepreneur, any leader to read anything you can find by Dr. John Maxwell. He is the absolute best. Of course, there are many others, but I choose him, and here is why. Many years ago, I was discouraged about a situation, and I was walking down the street and I turned my head and I saw a bookstore. And not to seem overly religious or cuckoo or whatever, but this is just how I believe. God told me, go over there to that bookstore. I went over to the bookstore. I said, okay, Lord, I'm here. And I looked around, and as soon as I saw the section that said leadership, let's go right over there to that section. I walked over there to that section. I said, okay, now I'm here. What am I looking for? I looked up, I saw 3 books by John Maxwell. And I get those 3 books. Picked up those 3 books. I said, okay, now I got these 3 books. I don't have any money to buy them. Well, I made a phone call. The person I called sent me the money. I bought the 3 books. Now I was not a reader. So got those books and I read those. I can't remember if I read all of them in one weekend, but I know for at least I read 1 to 2 of them. But here's the thing. Takeaway is when I read the books was encouraging me about everything that was going on in my head and in my mind and everything that I had taught. And it all was encouraging me to let me know that I was not wrong about what was in my perception. And so from there, I just continued to read his books. I become a part of his Maximum Impact Club. And I tell you, it's just a lot of life and learning in the things that he talk about. It's very simple. He doesn't talk over your head. It's relatable. And it's just absolutely the best. So I would say, in particular, develop the leader. If you're a leader and you're looking to, or just a person and you're looking to develop the person on the inside of you, pick up Develop the Leader Within. That is a book by John Maxwell. Podcasts, oh my God, there's so many out there. I'm trying to think of one that I watch. I do not.
I was about to say, I think won the game already. He gave us a good book. John Maxwell definitely,
Yeah,
he dropped some
podcasts.
gems.
I don't have a specific one that's coming to my mind right now because there's so many great ones. I just tend to choose podcasts that are talking about something important. I'm not into the gossipy, all of that. But if you're teaching something, then if it's something that I'm trying to develop, that's when I pick and I listen. So I don't have one specifically right now that comes to mind. The only one that pops up in my mind is the Oprah podcast. And that's because over the years, I've taken a lot from the things that she stands for. I know people have their different opinions about things that they hear and stuff like that. But because I don't know, I don't listen to all of that. I don't get into it. But here's why I say her, because years ago I remember her from Baltimore. And I remember specifically when she was leaving Baltimore to go to Chicago. And I remember the buzz around Baltimore was, who does she think she is? She's not going to make it, blase, blase. And I can remember as a young man, a young boy, a little boy, I remember hearing that. And I stood on my grandmother's porch and I didn't like what I heard. And I said to myself, she's going to make it just because these people said this. And I always say, I wish I could tell her that one day, and maybe it wouldn't even mean anything, but I remember that. And so to see her now blows my mind. And I can remember when everybody started getting mad about our show because they felt like it was like women bashing men or something like that. And I remember that I started to develop this mindset that I don't want to listen to her. She's a sellout, blase, blase. Every time I look at her, I see this or that. Well, years passed and one day I saw her show and I noticed that my attitude and perspective had shifted. When I said that to myself, the Holy Spirit said to me, nothing was wrong with her. It was your perspective. So the reason why you couldn't watch her and relate to all the stuff she was talking about is because your mind had not shifted. So now you're in a place where your mind has shifted. So now you're in a place where you can see and hear what it is, the message that she's trying to put across. And so that's why I say her, because once I developed that ear and I could hear and see, and that shift took place, I learned a lot from her. And to this day, I still have, quotes that she said, and I do watch her podcast. And if she recommends a book, most of the time I will get it and read it. So that's why I say the Oprah podcast.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
That's real cool, Doc. Man, this has been a great interview. I appreciate you for coming on the show. Before you leave, man, I need you to share where everybody can find you, your website, Dr. Whitty, the pop-up shop, some of the services you provide and who should be coming to find Dr. Whitty and just where they can find you.
Well, first of all, I want to say I hope I can get a copy of this interview. I don't know. You let me know.
No, I'll send it over to you. It'll definitely be on YouTube too, and I can send you over a copy of it for sure.
And here's why. I'm going to be completely honest. And here's why. Because the guest that was scheduled to be on my podcast on Monday is not going to be there. So I thought maybe I could just play this.
Yeah, okay.
If I had a copy, I would play it in place of my live until my next show. But, you let me know if I can do that or not.
Yeah, no, you can do that. I'll send it over to you. We won't be uploading this till I think it's going to be like our episode 4. Just speaking ahead, but we definitely will get it out there. I'll send it over to you for you.
All right. But where you can find me, first of all, you can check me out at www.drwhitty.org. That's DR. Do not put a period behind the doctor. Some people do that and wonder why they can't find me. Just drwhitty.org. That is my website. You can go there and learn a little bit about me. You can watch my podcasts. There's a section where you can watch Dr. Whitty Today. Several episodes, they are pre-recorded. You can also go there to book me for speaking engagements, or you can go there to book me for coaching individual assistants. And I can be found on what? I always have to use my fingers. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, X, and I think I may have missed one. Facebook. Yeah. I can be found on all of those platforms if you look up Dr. Whitty. So that's where I can be found. If you're somebody who is thinking about being coached, reach out to me on any of those platforms or go to my website and book a free consultation. You won't be sorry that you did.
Well, y'all heard it here live, folks. This was Dr. Whitty, man. Dr. Whitty, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a great episode of Business and Bourbon. I'm glad you've been able to share your origin story, your military leadership, your leadership as a civilian, and some of your frameworks. We thank you for coming on this show, and we hope to have further conversations with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You are a great host, and I hope that you will reach out to me so I can have you on Dr. Whitty Today.
Oh, for sure. Will do, Doc. You know, it's always good, man. So, y'all heard it here. This is Business Bourbon signing out. Peace.